Hello, everybody. My name is Diana Pryson. I'm a forestry technician with the City of Minnetonka, and I'm excited to share with you our 2024 sneak preview for our tree and shrub sale. All right, going through our agenda today, we're going to talk about our tree and shrub sale lottery. How does that work? Go over some frequently asked questions. We're going to talk about how to order your tree, choosing the right tree for your property, a little bit on tree care, and then, of course, the sneak preview of all the tree and shrub species we'll be offering this year. First up, what's a lottery and why are we implementing one? This is an extremely popular program. We've received feedback over the years that people were having a hard time ordering trees as things were selling out immediately. So we decided to implement a lottery. We also took this as an opportunity to target certain areas of the city that were in need of more trees. This here is a map of land surface temperature around Minnetonka, and those red areas are hotter zones. So we'll be targeting those areas, trying to get more trees in the neighborhoods there. This also ensures that all owners have more equitable access to the sale. And you can register for the lottery between April 1st and the 26th of the month. Why do we host a tree and shrub sale? We want to replace trees that have been lost to diseases, insects, and storms. Many of you are familiar with emerald ash borer or possibly have been affected by emerald ash borer. We've been losing thousands of trees to the insect alone. We really want to plant future generations of trees now. We want to build our tree canopy for climate resiliency as climate change may come into effect here. And then it's a way to offer low cost trees to residents. We recognize trees as having a public benefit wherever they are planted. They provide cleaner air, they cool our homes, they're beautiful to look at. And most of the plantable space within the city of Minnetonka is on private property. So this is a good way to get trees in the ground where they're needed most. Going through some frequently asked questions, how much are the trees and shrubs? We have a couple different options this year. We have some container trees, and that includes our trios and our duos, and those are going to be $50 a piece. New this year, thanks to a grant through the Minnesota DNR, we're going to have some bare root trees, and those are $25. How many trees can you order? You can order up to 2 trees and shrubs per property for a total of 2 separate properties. Where do we order these trees from? We do like to work with local nurseries. So we have been ordering trees through Bailey Nurseries out of Newport, Minnesota, and then also Wilson's Nursery out of New Germany, Minnesota. Is there a warranty on the trees? No, we purchase the trees wholesale from the nurseries and we don't receive a warranty for them. And we also subsidize the cost of the trees, so we cannot offer a warranty to those purchasing them. How big are the trees at the time of pickup? Container trees are going to be in number 10, number 5 containers, and they're going to be anywhere from 3 to 8 feet tall. Picture here in the bottom right is pretty typical of one of the tree sale trees you might receive. And the bare root trees are going to be a similar size, 4 to 8 feet tall, 1 inch caliper, but they're not going to be coming in a container or a pot. They're going to just come as is. How are the trees selected? We look at various things to select our trees. First off, we want to have a diverse selection. We look at trees that we've offered in the past several years, trying to mix it up each year, and then choosing trees from several different categories. We want shade trees, we want to have a few ornamentals, some understory trees, wetland edge species, trees that are going to be resilient to climate change, and then of course we have to work within what's available. Can I order trees for my cabin? And the trees for the sale are really intended to be planted in the city of Minnetonka. So if you do purchase trees through the sale, we ask that you plant them here in the city. Can your HOA order trees? So homeowners association, businesses, and places of worship can all order trees through our tree sale. We just ask that you do that separately from the online sale and contact us directly. We'll be happy to help you with that. You are online and you see that the tree that you wanted is all sold out. Will we get more? And the short answer is no. We fully stock our website with all the trees that we have available, and once they are sold out, they are gone. When is the pickup event? We have scheduled a pickup event for September 20th and 21st, and we're looking to host it at Shady Oak Beach parking lot. This is where we did it last year. It worked out quite well, so we'll likely do it there again. And what happens if you forget to pick up your tree? We make every effort to notify you. We send out emails and letters and reminders to try to get you back to get your tree. If you are If you forget your tree for some reason, any remaining trees not claimed will be planted in public spaces and parks and schools within the city. Can you purchase trees that were not picked up? No, unfortunately, it's a fairness issue. We cannot resell the trees that were not picked up. They've already been paid for. If you're thinking maybe I'm not in a target area, is it worth signing up for the lottery? And I'm encouraging everyone to sign up for the lottery, regardless on where you live. If we don't have enough people in our target areas, we will randomly select people throughout the city. And also, if you sign up for the lottery, you'll be on an email chain and we'll notify you once the sale goes live to the public. All right, how to order your tree. You're going to go to our website, minnetonkamn.gov/tree sale. And there's going to be a link there that's going to connect you with Tree Trust. Tree Trust is our online contractor who's taking care of the sale online for us. They're going to collect your information for the lottery. And then if you entered that lottery, you'll be notified of your status, whether you won or not, on May 1st. Then we'll have that early ordering period May 6th and 12th. And then starting on May 13th, the sale will open to the public. So on May 13th, when the sale opens to the public, any stock remaining will be available. I'm fairly confident we will have quite a few trees left over. We did last year following our lottery. I imagine that the same will happen this year. You're going to click that link on our city website to direct you over to Shopify through Tree Trust. You're going to make a Shopify account, and then you're going to order your trees just as you would on any online shopping platform. If you're ordering for more than one property, you're going to need to enter each address separately, or your order won't be able to be placed. We cannot take orders over the phone, so if you don't have access to a computer, you may check one out at a library or give us a call, and hopefully we can help you in some other way. Right, talking about how to choose the right tree for your space. You got to ask yourself, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking to replace an ash tree that was cut down? Perhaps you just want to do some landscaping and beautify your yard. Maybe you're looking to start a fruit orchard and want to get some fruit trees going. Or you have a building or a neighbor that you'd like to screen. Or perhaps you want some energy savings. You want to lower your air conditioning costs by planting a big shade tree next to your house. Or you want to attract more birds and wildlife to your property. Or maybe you've done a big buck bust in your wooded space and you want to add some trees and shrubs that could help with the resprout. Or perhaps you have a low area that collects a lot of water and you want to get some stormwater benefits. These are all good reasons why you might choose a tree. We have 20 different species this year, so I'm confident that you would find one that would work for what you're looking for. Once you've figured out why you want to plant, take a look at the space that you have. Be mindful of the mature size and width of the tree. We have this listed in all of our publications. Do you have enough space there for that tree to grow? And then what kind of soil type and moisture levels? You don't have to do a soil test and figure out your pH or anything like that, but you might want to know generally, do you have sandy soils or clay soils, or maybe it's really gravelly? And then what are the moisture levels? Do you have a low spot? Does it flood or is it very exposed and it's very dry? And then what kind of sun availability do you have? Full sun trees need 6 or more hours of direct sunlight. Part sun or part shade trees are going to need 4 to 6 hours of direct sunlight. And then a full shade tree would be 4 or less hours of direct sun. All right, overhead and underground utilities, definitely do a Gopher State 1 call. This is if you call the number 811, they'll get the underground utilities marked on your property. You don't want to plant on top of those. But then also look up, where are the power lines that are going to your house? Do you have communication lines? We don't want to plant tall shade trees that might need to get pruned like a yew later on since we planted underneath them. If you have garden spaces, you might avoid planting shade trees next to a vegetable garden, for example. And then also ease of maintenance. Can you water this tree? Don't plant so far away that you can't reach a hose. You want to make sure that you can be watering your tree, which is going to be your main job for the next several years. So make sure that it's in a convenient place. And then what kind of wildlife do you have? Deer can be very destructive on new trees, especially in the fall when they're in their rut. Rabbits as well. If it's in the wintertime and they're really hungry, they can go after young trees. Just popping this up on the screen really quick. We had a little zone change in 2023. The USDA came out with a new plant hardiness zone map for us. Historically, we've been in zone 4B here in the metro area. Now we are considered 5A. And what that means is we have warmer winter temperatures on average, and that new trees and shrubs are surviving here that weren't able to before. So through our sale, we've selected several zone 5 trees that we think will do quite well here in Minnetonka. They're all tried and true, planted in our parks and other places, so we know they're going to do well. Briefly talking about tree care, first off, make sure that you're properly planting your tree. I'm going to send out this video. We have a short 2.5 minute video talking about ways you can plant your tree. Make sure that you're following that as much as you can. It's going to go a long way in long term success for your tree. Water, water, water. We've been having some droughty summers, and making sure that your tree is properly hydrated is going to be probably your biggest task for the next 3 to 5 years. You also want to think about throwing some mulch around your tree. This helps keep that moisture next to the soil and can protect those fine roots in the wintertime. You just want to use some kind of organic material. So, wood mulch or bark mulch. I would avoid using landscape rocks or any man made material. And then protect your tree. If you know you have a lot of deer or rabbits, you might want to throw some trunk wrap around your newly planted tree in the fall. Keep that on through the winter and remove it in the spring. Or if you want to take it one step further, you can put a cage around your tree, especially for some of our conifers and evergreens. It's a good thing to do because you can't get a guard around it. And then, of course, monitor your trees. You might see holes in the leaves like this bottom photo that might indicate that you have an insect problem. So just check out your trees, see what's going on. And just to drive home this a little further, make sure that you're taking your time to properly plant your tree. Here's some examples of what we call stem girdling roots. These trees were not properly planted. And as the tree grows, you can see here this tree that just came out of its container, all of its this, where this finger is pointing, all these tree roots are growing around and around in a circle. If you don't do anything at the time of planting, that tree is just going to start getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to strangle itself underground. And you get sort of this ball and socket effect, as you can see in the bottom right. And the tree, if it doesn't just snap at the base in a windstorm, will start dying from the top down from the inability to take up water and nutrients. So please take the time to properly plant your tree. All right, jumping into our tree categories, we have shade trees, we've got some ornamental and understory trees, conifers, and duos and trios. Our shade trees this year are silver maple, Ohio buckeye, London plane tree, shingle oak, balsam poplar, bur oak, hackberry, American basswood, St. Croix elm, and the northern catalpa. The silver maple, this is a native maple. It's a floodplain species, really beautiful, large shade tree. It is both flood and drought tolerant, so fairly adaptable. It does have a fast growth rate, so if you might want to consider having some pruning done on it when it's young, just to make sure it's growing in the form that you would like. And this one does best in a large open site. Make sure that you avoid planting near water or sewer lines. It can have a bit of an aggressive root system. But if you live next to a lakeshore or a wetland, really awesome tree for that. Got a lot of wildlife benefits. Next up is the Ohio buckeye. This is a more compacted shade tree. Doesn't get as large as the other shade trees we have this year. More unusual. This is a mostly a cultivated tree here in Minnesota, and fairly unique. You don't see it planted super often. So if you're looking to diversify your landscape, this would be a good one to do. It's got very unique palmately compound leaves. We can see here it gets fruit that's enjoyed by different mammals and wildlife. Oh, but my favorite part about the Ohio buckeye is its really brilliant orangey red fall color. It just really stands out, and I think it rivals maples in its brilliance. Next up, the exclamation London plane tree. This one I call the Urban Avenger. This is a tough, tough tree. It's one of our Zone 5 introductions. We've planted this in several parks. It's doing amazing. This tree can take about just about any soil type, any moisture level. It does prefer full sun, so that's its one picky feature. But this is the tree that you see planted on boulevards in places like Chicago and New York City. Really, really cool tree. It's got maple-like leaves on it and this multicolored kind of calico-looking bark. So if you know you have a tough site, but you want a big shade tree, you want something that grows quickly, this is a good one. Next up is the shingle oak. This is another one of our just south of us trees. It's an oak tree, so it's got a ton of wildlife benefits. It doesn't look like your typical oak tree, at least the leaves do not. Don't have lobes like you would think of with a oak leaf. They're smooth. Sides are kind of spade shaped there. It does get acorns. It's a little bit smaller than some of our native oaks, which is actually kind of nice if you have a smaller space. And then it also gets really brilliant chartreuse orange fall color, really pretty. Next up is the balsam poplar. This is a native shade tree. It's tall and relatively narrow for a tree. Does prefer full sun. This is a great tree if you have a wetland space or a more natural lakeshore. This tree would do really well there. It does have the tendency to root sucker, so just keep that in mind if you're planting it. And then also the buds have this resin on it that are really important to pollinators. So bees will take the resin from the buds and line their hives with it. It has antiviral and antimicrobial activity properties. And humans have used this resin in a salve called balm of Gilead since the biblical days to treat aches and pains. Lots of medicinal qualities with this tree. Next up is the bur oak. This is one of the more recognizable trees that we have here. A large, sturdy native, and it's a keystone species here in Minnesota, so it supports more wildlife than pretty much any other tree or plant here. Very long lived. It's got this rugged architecture that gives it this spooky Halloween look, and these really glossy, dark, thick green leaves. I'm sure you have a lot of space for this tree, and it's a little bit slower grower, but if you're willing to spend the time with it, it's definitely worth the wait. Okay, next up is the hackberry tree. This is in the elm family, great ash replacement tree. It's native. It has sort of that vase-like shape when it gets larger. It does have edible berries, although they're a little bit dry. I wouldn't recommend them. I have tried them myself. And then one of its most distinct qualities is this corky looking bark that's different than any other bark that you would see. Next up, the American basswood. This is from the maple basswood forest. So this is one of our common forest type grown trees here. It's a tall and upright tree that gets really fragrant, creamy white flowers in the spring that smell amazing. Wildlife love this tree. A lot of the parts of the tree are edible for small birds and woodpeckers and mammals. It does get a little bit drought stressed because it's typically a forest grown tree. So if you're really hot and dry site, you can still plant this tree. Just make sure you're supplementing water during times of drought. Next up, the St. Croix elm. This is our true Minnesota native tree. So this is a cultivar of our American elm. And this tree, those top two photos there, are the parent tree. We have a forester here in Minnesota who saw this tree in an area where Dutch elm disease had swept through, and this one survived. And so he worked with the U of M, and they took cuttings of it, inoculated it with Dutch elm disease, and it showed great resistance. This tree is going to be just like your American elm, where it's got that classic vase shape. Elms are long lived, they're majestic, they're fast growing. You want some instant shade. Really beautiful, awesome tree. The northern catalpa. This is a all upright shade tree that gets covered in these large white blossoms in early summer. Super beautiful. They're just giant white flowers, striking. It also has large heart-shaped leaves. Typically, it prefers a little moister soil, but this one's pretty adaptable. Also gets long bean pods that have ornamental quality. Next up is our ornamental or understory trees. We have the blue beech, yellowwood, pagoda dogwood, autumn brilliant serviceberry, and the red bud. All right, if you have a shady lot, but you really want to plant a tree, get some understory trees, the blue beech might be a really good choice for you. It is shade tolerant and it has a lot of really cool things about it. So it's got these papery seed pods that hang down almost like little ornaments from the tree. Has this really smooth, fluted bark that almost looks like a flexed muscle. And then in the fall, it gets this multicolored foliage. It's just really, really cool. It'll be orange and red and purple all on the same tree. Really beautiful. Next up is the yellowwood. This one I wasn't sure which category to put it in. I think it could also be considered a shade tree because it definitely gets to be that size. I think of it more as an ornamental tree here in Minnesota. It's a little bit slower growing because it is a zone 5, but it gets these white flowers covering the tree in spring and they last a while, so several weeks. You get to enjoy them for a long period of time. And then it also gets very beautiful yellow fall color. Next up is the pagoda dogwood. This is an understory tree or small shrub. This will come as a tree form, so a single stem. It has tiered architecture, which resembles Japanese pagodas, some may say. It gets flowers in the spring, berries, and then beautiful fall color. Out of brilliant serviceberry, this was brought back by popular demand. This is a cultivar of our native serviceberry. And serviceberry has several seasons of interest. It's got your spring flowers, it's got summer fruit, it's got beautiful fall color, and then it's got ornamentally significant bark. It's like silvery gray, smooth bark that's really, really pretty. You can eat the berries, they're really delicious. I'd say they resemble maybe a blueberry or a grape. You just want to make sure that you're protecting this tree in the wintertime because our browsers really do enjoy this tree. Another tree that we brought back by popular demand is the redbud, and this will come as a single stem as well. Redbud is an understory tree, and it gets coated in these magenta pink flowers early in the spring before the leaves come out. Really striking in the background of other trees in a forested area. Also gets very beautiful dark green heart-shaped leaves in the growing season that turn just brilliant yellow in the fall. Right, jumping in to talk about our conifers, concolor fir and white pine. The concolor fir, also known as the white fir, is native to some mountain ranges to the west. This one has blue needles that are really, really pretty. This is a good alternative to our Colorado blue spruce. It also gets these purple upright cones on the branches that are really cool looking. This tree would do great if you planted as a specimen. You just want to add a conifer in your yard, or if you want to add it to a screen, this would be a good one for that. It's a little bit smaller than some of our native evergreens. It only gets to be 30 to 50 feet high and 15 to 20 feet wide. You might want to think about putting some burlap or some kind of winter protection on this one if you have a really exposed site. It can get winter burn. Next up is our white pine. This is a majestic native tree. It once dominated the landscape in northern Minnesota pre European settlement and was heavily prized for its timber. Very long lived, very large tree. It grows fairly quickly and has beautiful dark green needles that are long and soft. I love this one because it gives sort of an up north feel. You don't want to plant this somewhere if you have waterlogged soils. It doesn't like standing water. And then I would also avoid planting it near a roadway. All right, we're going to talk about our duos and trios. We have the apple tree duo, the chestnut and honeycrisp apple, the gray dogwood trio, and then the common nine bark trio. All right, our apple tree duo, we have a chestnut crabapple and a honeycrisp apple. First up, the chestnut crabapple. This isn't what you think of when you think of crab apples. They are bigger fruit that are edible. You can see this person's hand here holding those. So they're about 2-inch diameter apples, and they're great eaten fresh off the tree. It's said to have a nutty or mild flavor. You can press it into a cider or bake with it. Uh, really, really tasty, or so I've been told. I haven't tried them. And then many of us are familiar with Honeycrisp. These are very large, juicy, crisp apples. Really tasty, easy to grow. Fruit trees do need full sun, so make sure that you have a sunny spot and then also make sure that you're protecting these trees from browsing. All right, our gray dogwood trio. This is a native dogwood tree. You actually get three separate shrubs with this selection. It's $50, but you'll get three containers of three separate shrubs. And the gray dogwood's great. It's super adaptable. It's not picky about its sun, full sun for shade. It's not picky about its soil type, its moisture level, just a really hardy, great shrub. It does have a tendency to root sucker and spread. So if you've done a big buckthorn bust or you have a more naturalist setting you want to add some trees or shrubs to, this would be a really good choice. It also gets white flowers and then these white berries that are enjoyed by different wildlife, and then beautiful red purple fall color. Next up is the common nine bark trio. So again, you're going to get three separate potted shrubs with this selection. This nine bark is considered native, although it's fairly rare in naturalized settings in Minnesota. I think it's been found on some stream banks in eastern Minnesota, but we do consider this one native. It's a good alternative to spirea. It kind of takes on a similar look where it's got these long arching branches that get coated in white flowers in the spring. Also has multicolored peeling bark, hence the name nine bark. I like trees that have winter interest, and I would consider that ornamental quality bark to have quite a bit of winter interest. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me directly, or you can email our forestry hotline, or give us a call here. We're happy to help you. Thank you so much for listening, and next spring. Thank you so much.